Hello, my name is Matthew Godby, and I am going to be presenting the growth of telehealth. In this presentation, we're going to talking about the trends, the benefits, and the challenges driving expansion in telehealth. For any of you that did not know what telehealth is or have not experienced using telehealth, telehealth is the provision of healthcare remotely by means of telecommunications technology. For an example of that, telehealth is everywhere, and overall, you can use it on your computer, you can use it on your phone, and we'll go into the details throughout this presentation, and hopefully you enjoy. All right, for my introduction, telehealth has grown from being a convenient, grown from being a convenience to becoming a vital part of healthcare delivery. The COVID-19 pandemic acted as a catalyst, pushing providers and patients to adopt virtual care quickly. Today, telehealth is not just a backup plan, but an integrated option that expands access and reduces barriers to care. What I was saying earlier about it's a convenient way to get the care that you need at home, um, versus going into the doctors. It is very helpful. I've used it many of times, and I would recommend it to anybody. Alrighty. So, the key drivers of growth. Like I said, COVID-19 accelerated its adoption into everyday life. Advances in digital technology, I would also say, is another big reason. Patient demand for convenience, I already mentioned that, and supportive policy and reimbursement charges. The biggest drivers behind telehealth growth include the pandemic, the digital tools that we have um, now versus what we had in the past are exceedingly better than what they were beforehand. And we are not going in a we are in an age where AI is taking over. And if we can do stuff to make things more convenient and use technology with accuracy, it is beneficial. And especially with telehealth, um, it is amazing what it can be done just with the the whereabouts of a computer system. And more on the supportive policy and reimbursement charges. Insurance reimbursement charges and government policies also made it easier for telehealth to be adopted on a wider scale. The benefits of telehealth. Improved access to care is amazing. Telehealth reduces travel costs and time, making it especially helpful for people in rural or underserved areas. Um, it also supports chronic disease management by allowing regular monitoring and check-ins. And also, patients feel more engaged because virtual care is flexible and easier to access. However, my next slide, there are some challenges, and people feel the need to express this a lot. Telehealth reduces, sorry, despite its growth, telehealth faces hurdles. Privacy and cybersecurity must be prioritized to protect sensitive health data. So your medical records obviously are very important, and people are afraid that if they're giving them out online, that it would hurt their security. Um, Unequal access. People think that I think people are assuming that telehealth isn't accessible. It is very cheap, and it's actually cheaper than going to the doctor in most cases. Um, I think that the overall problem is the assumption behind it. Also, licensing and regulation barriers. They are very serious barriers, as not everyone has reliable internet services, and varying regulations can prohibit people to getting the actual telehealth care that they need. For instance, the Tri-Healths and the Christ Hospital have the licensing, but the smaller doctor's office have this licensing and regulation barrier, so people have to go out and seek help elsewhere. Also, we had talked about the reimbursement variability. Varying regulations and reimbursement policies can slow adaptation in an area. Alrighty. The future outlook. Hybrid healthcare models. The future of healthcare will likely be hybrid, balancing virtual and in-person care. Artificial intelligence and wearable devices will become standard tools to track health remotely. Also, policies are increasingly supportive of telehealth, and analysts expect the global market to grow into the hundreds of billions by 2030. So it is going to skyrocket. And especially if, and I hope not, if there's another pandemic, it's going to look, I think doctors' offices are going to become scarce in the future. All right, the telehealth market growth. So the global telehealth market is expected to exceed 450 billion by 2030. I just mentioned that. The expansion is fueled by aging populations that need more frequent care, broader insurance coverage, and increased demand for fast, convenient services. This shows telehealth is not a trend, but a long-term industry. And COVID had a big play in this, and it either needs to be adapted soon or it will not be adapted by all. Um, but it should be. My 83-year-old grandpa uses it every day, and if he can do it, I'm pretty sure anybody else can do it. Alrighty, next, telehealth and chronic care. Um, for patients with conditions like diabetes, hypertension, or heart disease, telehealth offers remote monitoring tools that share real-time data and doctors. This reduces ER visits and hospital uh, readmissions while improving adherence to the treatment plans. Patients feel supported between visits rather than waiting for scheduled appointments. Technology enablers. Telehealth is possible because of broad internet, wearable technology, and secure cloud platforms, and also artificial intelligence. These tools let patients and providers share data instantly and securely. As technology advances, telehealth will become more seamless, more reliable, and more widely available. Equity in the digital divide. Telehealth has the potential to widen inequalities if the digital divide isn't addressed. Rural and low-income patients may lack internet access and or devices. So closing this gap requires partnerships between government and healthcare systems and technology providers to ensure telehealth reaches everywhere, to everyone and everywhere. All right, telehealth policy and regulation. Regulations play a huge role in telehealth success. Licensing across state lines, fair reimbursements, and HIPAA compliance and data privacy are ongoing challenges. Laws are evolving, but the speed of regular reform will determine how quickly telehealth continues to expand. I wanted to talk about this a little bit. I think for most people, it's their data it it's is their data being protected, and what are people doing with their information? Rather than word to mouth, they can't record that in person, and some of these recordings are helped to better your service online. However, most people are afraid that it's going to hurt them in the long run. Um, and for my final thoughts, telehealth is not a trend, it's a transformation. Not just supplementing it, it expands access and it lowers costs and it improves satisfaction. However, success depends on addressing challenges in trust, equity, and policy. For instance, the older generations need to adapt to going face to face and rather push themselves to trusting the online system. And my generation, our generation, probably needs to stop being so trustworthy with technology and kind of question it. But also, we're new to all this healthcare stuff because we're young. So we don't go into the doctor as many times as somebody in their 60s, 70s, and 80s do. The future will be hybrid, blending the convenience of telehealth and the and the human touch in person care. Um, it's not like in-person care is going to go away. We all have problems that cannot be addressed online or somebody needs to be looked at. So, but telehealth, it's basically the convenient access to everyone anywhere. You don't need to go in for a cold anymore. They know you have a cold. So that's what makes telehealth the best thing ever for us. And it's growing. And finally, for my discussion questions, how has telehealth personally impacted your experience with healthcare, either as a patient or a provider? What barriers do you think are the biggest challenges to telehealth adoption? And do you think telehealth will eventually replace most in-person visits, or will it remain a hybrid model, and why? Thank you very much.